What's the most forever alone thing you have ever done? I'll start. A few years ago, the only two friends I had were internet friends. I was a socially awkward high school kid. Then those two internet friends decided to get into a long distance relationship with each other, effectively making me the third wheel, which is bad enough. But it also made me the third wheel in a friendship that existed over the internet only, which is already forever alone awful. And whenever they visited one another I roll. My AIM buddy list would be barren for weeks, but I'd still log on daily hoping to catch one of them online for at least for a little while. But no, they were too consumed in one another to come online, like normal people. I putted away my time reading books, browsing the internet, and waiting for them to come back. And then while they were together over Christmas break that year, I got a text from one on New Year's Eve saying that they were in New York watching the ball drop, and they'd kissed at midnight and it was an amazing time. They were so in love, and I was on my couch at home, all alone, doing absolutely nothing, wishing I were there, knowing I'd never be so lucky in my life, and so I just went to bed and cried before it even hit 12 in my time zone. Yeah, so that's probably the most raw forever alone story I've got to tell from the worst time in my life. If I had a time machine I would go back and kiss you that night, and I'm pretty sure we are both men, but I would do it for you. At summer camp as a kid, we had a team building exercise where we had to eat Skittles without bending our elbows. The whole point of the exercise was that you couldn't do it alone and had to work together. But no one wanted to be my partner, so I figured out how to do it alone. Place Skittle on knee, lift knee to mouth, repeat. Frick, team building exercises. Good for you. I am an only child. I used to play Monopoly with myself. I would pretend I am rolling the dice for the other people, and sometimes I would actually lose. I'm an only child too, and my parents would buy me board games but never play them with me. I played monoplayer Monopoly all the time too. Went on a medical call to a suicidal guy with a history of cutting himself on his arm. When we arrived, there was a very deep cut on his upper arm. When asked why he did it, he responded that when the blood would run down his arm and he would close his eyes, it felt like there was someone there holding him. About a year ago, I was really into the Facebook games. They've somehow managed to find a way to write crack into the code, but I didn't have enough friends to play a bunch of them. So I made a new friend. I went really in depth, just in case the Facebook guys decided to do some investigating. He was my brother, served in the military, in case anyone asked why they had never seen him, was a firefighter, and was a widower, because why the frick should he have a better life than me? It worked great. With the help of my brother from another psyche, I was able to further my addiction into strange new lands that I'd rather not talk about. I even had a couple of my friends that knew me too well to know that I didn't have a brother in on it, and they friended him too. After about a week of this, I logged onto the fake account and noticed that he had another friend request. This time from a girl that I had known in high school and had passing acquaintance with. I figured she'd found me on Facebook and had just decided to friend me and my brother. Nope. She just sent him a request. So, I deleted the account. Still wonder if I shouldn't have tried to start an imaginary relationship with the girl. Well, I do have a free weekend. TLDR. Made a fake Facebook account for the games. Girlfriended fake account and not me. Deleted fake account in a fit of jealousy. Holy crap. That's freaking hilarious in the most forlorn way. Thanks for sharing. I love the drastic overthinking when making you fake brother, as if Facebook SWAT is going to rope through your windows to interrogate you on the validity of your brother. I can identify with that. Having drinks alone right now at a bar with 3 couples surrounding me, acting like I am texting someone, though I am just browsing Reddit. Red leader standing by. You are not alone, my friend. One New Year's Eve, I was pretty much the only person in my friend group who was already back at their apartment before the new quarter began at our university. I dressed up like I was going to go out, and then I stayed up watching movies by myself. At times I can have some pretty hefty social anxiety. I moved to a new city and wanted to check out the bars and clubs. I would get dressed up, styled, cologned, drive right past my destination, decide I didn't really want to meet people, put in a podcast, get fast food, drive around for a couple hours, and go home. I did this no less than 8 times. I sometimes think of how lonely I am, and then I think, someone else must be thinking the same thing somewhere. So I pretend like some other poor lonely soul has come to the same conclusion, and that we send each other happy thoughts. I love you, lonely stranger. This one made me feel all warm and fuzzy. Read it and cringe. I pretended to have a girlfriend to make a girl I wanted to date jealous. I don't know how I planned on parlaying this lie to work in my favor. I was wildcarding it, I guess. Anyways, I talked about this fictitious girlfriend a lot more than I should have. Made up crap about where she was from, her hobbies, her major in school, what she looked like, crap about her family. It got out of hand quick. Some time later, the girl I liked got a boyfriend and asked if I'd like to go on a double date with her. I half-heartedly agreed and just put her off, hoping she'd forget about. But she kept dogging me about. She really wanted to go on a double date and kept pressing me about it. One day she called me and started getting pushy about the double date, so I told her that I broke up with her. And then she said, "Look, I know she doesn't exist. Just admit it and let's get past it. It's a little weird, but let's get past this." I screamed she does too exist, hung up on her and never talked to her again. The old Canadian girlfriend gambit. When I was a young boy I went to the park and played frisbee with myself. I threw it down the blacktop, walked over, and threw it back the other way, rinse and repeat. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I cringe when I think about it. I bought 50 chicken McNuggets at McDonald's, and when she asked me what sauce I wanted I replied with "oh crap." She didn't specify. I guess just one of each. There was no she. It's okay, the employee knew. On my birthday during November last year, I went to see a movie by myself and ate at a fancy restaurant all alone because all of my college friends who were supposed to join me went to the beach and forgot about my birthday earlier that day. That's the saddest thing I've ever read. I'd come to your birthday dinner. At a low point in my life, I've talked on the cell phone to nobody while walking through the mall. Whole one-sided conversations. Pauses. Half words because I was interrupted. Then I ended it with, "I love you too. Fuck." The last 3 Thanksgivings I have gone to the supermarket early during the day and purchased a few personal-sized frozen pizzas and other comfort foods, which I then eat later that night by myself in my dorm room while I watch TV show reruns. The cashiers always give me the most judgmental looks. Last Thanksgiving a girl I knew invited me to her house and said we could cook and hang out together. I was ecstatic to have someone to spend Thanksgiving with. The morning of Thanksgiving she texted me saying that she was going to go hang out with some other friends and cook with them instead and didn't invite me to come along. At least I found out before the supermarket closed so I could get some frozen pizzas for the night. I bought a second Game Boy Pocket and Pokemon Red so I could trade between the two whenever I wanted. Buying this much on a $10 a week allowance was a fairly large accomplishment. There's nothing forever alone about that. I needed my dang Jenga, Alakazam, and Golem. It was Valentine's Day and I had literally been forever alone, so I got a balloon, drew a forever alone face on it, and took pictures with it on photo booth for an hour. And then I watched Never Been Kissed and went to bed and oh god it was one of the most depressing days of my life. I prefer the term Single Awareness Day. I had very few friends in high school. Maybe only 5 people I associated with at all and I have not kept up with any of them. One day I went to a high school sponsored theme park event where only local high school students from within 50 or so miles around the park were allowed to enter. Cheaper tickets, cheaper food, etc. Although my friends had intended to go they all stayed home that day for one reason or another and I depressingly made the decision to drive to the amusement park alone. 45-minute drive, alone, parking alone, walking in alone. I was mortified that I might see someone from my school. I still remember the emptiness in the pit of my stomach. I eventually felt such self-pity that I couldn't stand it and I asked a group of 3 young ladies if I could tag along and make the 4th when they get on rides. They thought it was quite odd but they accepted. They were nice enough but they told inside jokes the entire time and I was totally lost. I felt alone. We rode a couple rides and I didn't have much to say to them nor did they have much to say to me. I saw 5 or 6 students from my class but in general never ran into anyone else I knew. I told my new acquaintances that I was thinking of going home early and they really didn't care if I stayed or left. They just kinda said meh. I left the girls long before the day was over and drove home in my Mazda 323 entirely depressed. The entire trip was one of the most depressing 6 or 7 hours ever in my life. Frick it, at least you went and made an effort. Be proud of that. Most people in your position give up and stay home feeling sorry for themselves. Went to a boy-girl party in 8th grade. Ended up watching a Timberwolves game with the girl who was hosting's dad and brother while everyone else played spin the bottle in her room. It's pretty much been downhill ever since. Close to home. Went to a party around that age at a girl's house. Too much anxiety to play spin the bottle with everyone else. Excused myself to the bathroom and made my way downstairs. Pet her sleeping family golden retriever the entire time. The most forever alone thing I have done was to sit here and read all 1000 plus comments and forever alone stories. I feel such a strong attachment to you all. My friend and I routinely made out with poles in her basement during games of pretend. We each had our own pole that we would pretend was Draco Malfoy Legolas, me, or Harry Potter Frodo Baggins, her. This is the weirdest thing I have ever posted on the internet, and I can mitigate it only by stating that this was early middle school, not, like, last week. I have the weirdest pole right now. Place my ping pong table up against the wall and play by myself. Also I have brought a dinner for 2. For just me, laid the table for 2 and just swapped places. Try dining in front of a mirror. A Lala's lemon. Saves time. About a year ago I was playing Red Dead Redemption and came upon an AFK guy in the middle of nowhere. I rolled around in front of him trying to wake him up. He remained a statue. I shot high power pistol bullets near his feet. Nothing. This is when I decided to see if it would be possible to push him, inch by inch, to the nearest town. It took about 45 minutes and half a mile of running into him at various angles. But eventually I was able to nudge him into the back door of the easternmost house in Armadillo. It was dark by now, but fortunately the back room was candlelit to provide some ambience. I nudged him onto the bed and stared lovingly at my new friend. It was time to rest. After all, we had just shared quite an adventure. It was then that my friend woke up. He quickly hopped off the bed and ran around the room frantically, as if awaking from a bad dream. I tried to follow my friend so that we could play, but he would have none of it. He started shooting at me, but I thought maybe he was just playing a game. I rolled around the room, trying to dodge the bullets. The candles were rolling around the room as well by this point. One bullet hit me, but I would not give up hope. A second bullet hit me. I stood up straight and looked my friend in the eye. A third bullet hit me, bloodying my vision. Then I filled my friend with a full clip of high power pistol bullets. I miss my friend. I haven't laughed so hard in weeks. When all my friends went to junior prom, in the mid-90s, I stayed home instead, zipping game after game so it will fit onto several 3.5 inches floppy disks. After I was done, I would unzip the files and play the game. It was King's Quest 2. I work from home and haven't gotten out much for the past few months from a surge of commission work, but I need to be able to bounce ideas off of someone so I can work creatively. I'm a game developer, so I set up a mirror by my work table and talk to myself. I just imagine the other side of the conversation and even practice emotions, reactions, jokes, and flirting to my reflection. I've also found a way to make my face appear more handsome by flexing certain muscles in it. I can probably entertain myself for hours like this. 2. According to The Sims, you're raising your charisma. Soon you'll get a random problem that only has 2 solutions, and one of which is arbitrarily right. But make the right decision and you'll be promoted. Every year for the past 9 years I've baked myself cupcakes on my birthday and then sat down to blow out the candles and eat all of them by myself. And then I pay someone to go to dinner with me. Whenever I tried to speak in school last year my voice was always crackly. I eventually realized that it was because generally I went all day without talking. So whenever I said sorry when bumping into someone, thanks when buying something, or hey to an acquaintance in the halls, it would be the first time I spoke that day. It's a bit better this year. I stopped cooking because I can never eat it all. Even when I freeze it, I pretty much only eat microwave meals and snack-like items. I tried to take a guy out to dinner and he said no. I think I'm crazy. I lived on sustagen and rice crackers for about a month. One meal a day. Wasn't poor or anything. Just couldn't be fricked. I think I am bachelor frog. When I was 15 or so, I was into snowboarding with my friends. But not cool snowboarding, like snowboarding on the large hill at my buddy's place. Well, I had planned on going to the real ski park near my town with my friends the next month and we were all going to tackle the big hill together. High school was high school for me. As it turns out, that was the month that my friends decided they all hated me and I was going to be the friendless wonder throughout the rest of my sophomore and junior years. Not wanting my mom to know that her little boy was suddenly completely friendless, I played it cool and kept it inside. It almost killed me, but that's neither here nor there for this story. I decided, screw those guys. I'm going snowboarding without them and told my mom that I was off to the mountain that weekend. I never said I was going alone. I just neglected to mention that nobody else was going. I get to the ski place and realize that the hill was really huge. I made it to the top one time and spent an hour falling back down to the bottom. I was too scared to go again. So I went over to the little training area with the hand cart that pulled you to the top of a very sad incline about 50 yards long. I spent the next few hours waiting around little kids getting their first ski snowboard lessons. I stone-faced it through the instructors all giving me the skunk eye as I perpetually went down that sad excuse of a hill. But I was too scared to try going down the big hill again and I wasn't going to have my day spoiled by going home early. I thought that would be letting the bullies win. As the afternoon crept on, I looked up at the ski lodge, 20 yards from the bottom of the training hill, and I see my mother and my older sister standing there. I scuttle over there and ask what's up. Turns out, they came down to go shopping and thought it would be cool to see how it was going. They asked where my friends were, not wanting to make my mom upset. I stuck with the lie and told her that they had all just left, but I was having such a good time that I didn't want to go. She said, okay, then let's see what you got. I want to see how you're coming along. Still terrified of and unable to go down the actual mountain, I stood there for a minute and bossed up. I spun around and went straight over to the kiddie hill and skied it down. The look on my mom's face was odd, to say the least. I told her I was too tired to go down the big hill again, so I was just winding down on the bunny hill. Eventually she left. I didn't want to leave right as they did, so I went back to my bunny hill and kept at it. By the end of the day, I was trying to snowboard while crying like a Sally. Eventually, I had to call it quits because my goggles wouldn't stop fogging up from the tears. On my 22nd birthday I invited everyone I knew to dinner at a Chinese restaurant. I invited about 50 people, Facebook friends, got about 20 confirmed, and reserved a table for 15. Trying to account for no-shows, I drove to the restaurant with two of my friends. Neither had cars or money and said if I wanted them there I would have to drive and pay for them. It was not a huge deal. So, the two friends and I get there and we're the only ones. 3 people sitting at a table for 15 and I had to pay for the whole check. It sucked. P.S. The year before, my 21st, I watched a Law and Order marathon by myself with 3-4 bottles of wine. I decided 22 was going to be my year. Now I just say frick it and drink alone, because trying or not it makes very little difference. I ordered 2 large pizzas on a buy one get one free deal and ate them over the course of 3 days. After I paid the guy I said hey guys the pizza's here to the empty room. I've spent my last 5 birthdays alone. Last year though, was the worst. A friend of mine at the time told me she would wrangle up a lot of my friends while they were on holiday. Being they're all from the same town, she said they'd drive back to campus to celebrate my birthday for the entire weekend. Mind you, I haven't really had an actual birthday celebration in close to 12 years, so the idea of having this happen was getting me really excited. I mean really excited. Sure enough though, after going through an entire week of getting amped up and filled with happiness, my birthday comes around. Nobody, not a call from her, no car, no message, no email, nothing. Sure enough, I spent my birthday during senior year of college alone and bitter. I went to go see Black Swan later that day, then properly drank myself asleep. My most forever alone day was in London and went a little like this. Walked around central London alone listening to podcasts on my phone until my phone ran out of battery. Turned the volume to 100% on all the iPods in the Apple store that are used to showcase really expensive headphones so it would make people jump. Then turned them all down because I felt bad. Went into the Trocadero and played on the arcade machines on my own in an almost empty Trocadero. When someone walked past me, I'd pretend to be texting someone or I'd pretend to be on the phone and say things like, "Where are you? I'm already here. I've been waiting for ages. Can you see the station? Yeah, you're not too far away. That's just around the corner." Sat in Golden Square on my own, smoking and drinking an energy drink. One of those energy drinks that look like a can of beer at first glance, while on every other bench in the square sat couples eating lunch together. Walked around Chinatown on my own. Played on the iPads in the technology section of HMV in Oxford Street. Beat a boss in Star Wars. Force Unleashed 2 on one of the 360s after I noticed a woman give up playing it because she couldn't beat it. After I beat it, I paused the game and walked away. Drove around a track 4 times in the new Need for Speed game on one of the PS3s until I could do a drift perfectly around a corner without hitting anything. Once I could, I paused it and left the shop. Then walked to Regent Street, went to the Apple store again and played on the iPads. Bought a hot chocolate and a chocolate cookie in Costa Coffee in Waterloo Station. The man serving me said, "You must really like your chocolate." I replied, "Hello, no, the cookie isn't for me. It's for my girlfriend. She's meeting me here in a bit." It was for me and I was single at the time. Sat alone with my hot chocolate while I waited for my train to come up on the departures board. Got my train home, walked home to my empty flat and went to sleep. That fake phone call and the lie about the cookie not being for me were the only words I said during that day. That actually sounds like a pretty fun day. I saved my own number in my phone as a contact so I could text someone who would text me back right away. Forever a phone. Once when I was a kid, I took my tape recorder and recorded myself DJing a radio show on tape. In between my own personal talk show I would add bootleg recordings of my favorite songs currently playing on the real radio. Old school pirating. I'm doing it right. Then I would listen to my radio show every day after school. You kids and your iPods, this is the way it was done. I don't see how this is forever alone. Just kind of cool. Did the thing in OP. Sat by myself during lunch for an entire year in high school. Never went to prom. Didn't even think about asking anyone. Never went to a school dance in my life. I'm in college now. I don't really regret it. Went to a movie by myself. Went hiking by myself. Drank an entire bottle of vodka by myself. Went out to lunch with 3 of my friends, all who which brought girlfriends. I have performed a 7th wheel. Sprayed a pillow with perfume. Hugged it and cried. I asked the professor to let me do about 90% of group projects by myself. Sometimes they won't let me. Sat next to a girl on a 6-hour flight. She fell asleep on my shoulder. Didn't say a word about it. Felt as if my human contact quota was filled for the next year. Went on about 4 different road trips by myself. Went car shopping by myself. Friends tried to take me out. Stayed in and played video games instead. Done this multiple times. On the rare occasion girls are interested. Most of the time I don't care and they think I'm not really interested when I don't think they're bad at all. I'm starting to wonder when I'll grow the balls to just shoot myself. Why'd this get so popular? Hug. Well, this is a pitiful shot in the dark at making more friends. But feel free to PM your AIM or something if you're feeling forever alone yourself. I was on a summer abroad homestay in Japan, but the school brought a group of us students to a hot spring hotel for 2 nights when we went to climb Mt. Fuji. That night, after climbing the mountain, almost all the students, most were college, 5 or so of us were under 18, myself the youngest at 15, were gathered in single room. and the college kids had all gotten drinks and were sharing them with the high schoolers. I got freaked out, so I left and watched K-pop videos alone in the lobby for the rest of the night. Above the influence. Last year on Valentine's Day I was at my friend's place where she and all of her roommates were with their boyfriends. They were all doing couple things and I was pretty much ignored. I spent the entire night in my friend's room, by myself, eating an entire tube of cookie dough, watching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, twice, back to back. I'm a straight male. When I was 15, depressed and anorexic as heck, male, 5 minutes and 11 seconds. 110-115 pounds tops. I wrote journal entries about a girl I was absolutely apeshit for, and left them out hoping she'd read them. She did. Then she friend-zoned me so deep it put my butt to sleep. I grew up on a farm with a very religious family. They convinced me that if I pleasure myself even once that I would go to heck. I was curious about masturbation so I jerked off one of the horses on our farm. One of the guys that worked on our farm told my parents. They were furious with me. They beat me with an electrical cord until my back bled. Then they made me shoot the horse. For almost a year I was only allowed to go to school, do homework chores and read the Bible. Everyone in the town knew what I did. I was constantly beat up and spit on. To this day I have never had an orgasm. Just go fap. Jesus doesn't care, bro. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.